Yes, I'm a 3-time reigning and current champion, and I'm now the longest reigning knockouts champion.
So you were in AAA for a while, then left and came back, right? What were the circumstances that led
Conan is one of my dearest friends. He's a huge reason. I mean, he was the first reason that I went to train in Mexico and then ended up staying. He's always kind of been my lucha dad, brother, whatever you want to put it. And when he returned to the company, it was a reason I felt like I could return to the company, because there was a lot of mistrust and some things that happened over the years that when I moved to the States and I just realized, I just kind of grew up and was like, I knew my worth finally. And I was just kind of fed up with the way that certain things were being handled, and I needed a break. I was like, I can't do this, you know? And then when Conan went back, he asked me to come back, and I was like, okay. But he also presented it to AAA as like, this is on her terms, and you know, so we have a very good relationship now where I go back and do television and you know, when I can. But my priority obviously is Impact Wrestling and what I'm doing with them. But yeah, it was definitely, if it wasn't for Conan, I definitely would probably have not gone back. But it had, because he was like he's my protector. You know. So.
What were your thoughts about like the women's revolution last year? Did you think that it was something that
last year?
Well, I mean, in terms of like all the publicity that it got, everyone put it on it last year, but it seems like something that has been happening for like over a decade.
Oh, it's been happening for many moons. And honestly, the Knockouts started it. Can we just point that out? I remember watching wrestling and when it was TNA, and it was so blatantly obvious to me that like the Knockouts were actually having matches and given time, and they weren't being in bra and panty matches and things like that. And so I really feel like they were at the forefront of what is now being called the women's revolution, however you want to put it. But also women in Japan, women in Mexico, women everywhere all over the world have always been pushing the envelope to further recognition and been having these epic matches and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's interesting and it's kind of ironic and annoying when it's just being said that it's, you know, oh, that like, you know, finally the first women pay-per-view or finally this. And it's like, we've all been doing that this whole time and busting our butts to be recognized and taking crazy bumps and doing all this crazy stuff. So it's a community effort, I think. You know, it's just that it was shoved down everyone's throat more last year just because of, you know, the company that we're speaking of chose to do it that way. But I feel like it's been a silent battle going on for years and years and years, and I'm so happy that I'm part of a company like Impact that has always recognized the talent that women have and the potential that they have when given a platform and when given the opportunity. And I feel like that's, you know, important to me, and it's important for me to represent women's wrestling in this way. And I'm so proud that also on Impact, every woman in our locker room has a story. No one's being overlooked. Everyone's so talented. Everyone's so different. No one looks the same. There's a knockout for everyone, you know. And if it's from Tessa and Intergender, to me as champion, to me harassing Rosemary in her lair, to the Undead Realm, to like, you know, there's someone for everyone. And it's a very cool time to be part of women's wrestling for sure.
So, you've been on both sides, American wrestling. What has been the difference in styles and the performance and different? Did you have to change your style in order to make it?
Yeah, there was I mean, there's so many different things. If you go down to like one wrestles to the left and one wrestles to the right, you know, like if we want to get into it. When I first moved to Mexico and I was training with Silver King, and he kept calling everything a suplex, and I'm like, it's an arm drag, you know, like. It's just like there's so many, you know, terminologies and styles, and obviously like lucha libre psychology is completely different than American style psychology. It's more high flying, but I think that's lucha libre has influenced American style now that we see a lot more high flying in the American style. The costuming is different. The grandeur of luchadors and the way that they look is, you know, always been so much crazier than the way that even American wrestlers present themselves. But obviously now we're seeing so many influences from everyone because there's interest about wrestling internationally. The fans are totally different. In Mexico, they are out of their minds. it's part of their culture, and and they are so passionate about it, and throw things and yell at you and spit on you and or love you and just want to they're so emotional, and it's wonderful. Like it's very, very special to be in front of a crazy lucha libre crowd. Like wrestling in small arenas like Arena Naucalpan in like north of Mexico City, where it's like this classic arena where all the seats just go up like this and the fans are just like so into it. Like that's lucha libre to me. And like compared to like American fans who are crazy and do crazy things, but not on that level. And then you go to Japan where it's like the most polite fans ever. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'm happy to be representing both styles. And yes, there was a learning curve at first with coming to Lucha Underground was fine because it was kind of obviously the same. It was Lucha Libre style. I had to speak in English, which was strange because I had only been speaking Spanish on TV for like 6 years. And then when I came to Impact, it was a whole other learning curve because just the rules are different, and doing promos in English. I know that sounds crazy, but when I had to speak in English, it was like I was learning to do a promo all over again because I'd just been in Spanish mode and Lucha Libre mode for so long. But I definitely feel like now I've worked really hard to like improve that aspect of my presentation and how I speak and, how Taya cuts a promo and all that. We're chugging along. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to learn from everybody around me and evolve,
I'm actually kind of curious now that you mentioned the different countries, because in America, obviously, when wrestling fans are into it, they make a ton of noise.
Yeah.
In Mexico, they make a ton of noise and apparently include objects of all types.
Yeah.
So how do you find a way to concentrate when you're used to constant noise, and then you go to Japan where the only time you hear something is like when the takoyaki vendor drops something?
Yeah, like the first time I wrestled in Japan was with AAA at Korakuen Hall, and it wasn't like they were still a little bit, they were making more noise then, but then it was when I came back and I wrestled for Stardom was when I had a one-on-one match, because the one with AAA it was like a multi-man, so there's all sorts of craziness going on. Okay. But when I went back and worked for Stardom, and my first match with them was in a one-on-one versus Io Shirai, and was the first time I went, oh my god, like I was running heat, doing a big move, I caught 1-2 kick out, and I'm like, why are they all looking at me like that? Like, I thought I was doing that. Do I have something in my face? Like, it was very, very strange. But they have so much respect for their wrestlers, and I just think that that's a cultural thing. They just, politely respect this art form. I mean, Japanese wrestling is iconic, and I mean, now when you watch New Japan and stuff like that, they seem to be they can get rowdy. Yeah. Or more rowdy. But yeah, I will never forget that. Like, just like she kicked out and I just looked around and I was like, what? And I'm like, arriba la buena loca, and like doing all my crazy stuff, and they're just like, yeah, it was definitely a culture shock, but that's cool. These are like these cool experiences that I get to live. And I love traveling and wrestling in front of like all different types of people, because wrestling is a language of the world. It's for everybody. And it's evident.
Question, to get back to Lucha Underground, I don't know, maybe you can, but did you expect it to end like it did, or did you think it would have like a longer life as a show?
I'm really sad about how it ended, especially because like, I don't know if any of you guys watched season 4. At the end of season 4, I turned into a god and I strangled John. I'm still a god, guys.
Ain't nobody taking that.
So like when we were pitched what was going to happen in season 4, it was into season 5 would have been me versus Johnny Mundo, which I never got to do. And I was like watching The Exorcist. I'm like, how am I going to be possessed? And like being all, I was like really excited and looking forward to it. And it was just like really sad because that show really made a lot of stars. And it was like the first time that a lot of us who are now on Impact, AEW, and WWE, it was the first time a lot of people saw us on their television screens. And so I'm forever grateful for that experience. And that work environment was so fun. We had so much fun on that show. It gets me goosebumps even thinking about it. Like, we just like got to be crazy. And like, you can, I mean, if you saw the wedding, like, they're like, what would Taya wear to a wedding? I'm like, oh my God. my big fat gypsy wedding. That's what Taya would do. And they took it literally, and everything was green. Like, we got to have so much fun, and they wanted our input, and they wanted us to, like, come up with stuff and have these matches. And, like, we would come up with the dumbest shit, like, the craziest stuff. And they're like, yeah, we can do that, you know? And I'm like, all right, we're doing it, you know? And it was just such a cool place, and we all just grew so close on that set. And I'm so proud of everybody and how far a lot of us have come and grown from there. And obviously, Lucha Underground's where I met my husband. So I think it worked out for me. But yeah, it's sad. I wish it could have continued to grow and been on a better network. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But it is what it is. And I'm very grateful for that chapter in my career. And I mean, who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll get a season 5 in a few years. Who knows? I don't know. But for now, you know, we're all focused on our own little projects and doing stuff. And me being the longest reigning Knockouts champion, and you know, Lucha Underground is part of my story. So. Yeah.
What does it mean for Impact to be on AXS TV now, and the real exposure that it's going to be, and kind of adding to the market share professionally?
Yeah, Tuesdays are for us now. I think it's great. I mean, I feel like the work that Impact's been doing on a whole behind the scenes, in front of the cameras in the ring, has been incredible over the last, especially the last 2 years. I like to say this year's the best year because obviously, you know. But in all honesty, it's just great to know that so many more people are going to be able to see the passion and the creativity that we have and live the matches and the stories that we've been doing along with us. And I think this is a really great relationship between Anthem and AXS. AXS is also in Los Angeles where I live, so this is great. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm just really excited for more people to watch the show, and I feel like this is going to be a great way to end this year. You know, starting October 29th, the official first episode will be on AXS TV on a Tuesday, post Bound for Glory, and finishing out this year this way, and then starting 2020.
You live in here in LA. Are we going to see Impact coming into LA? They were here in Santa Ana. Are we going to see the promotion coming into LA?
Well, I've been asking them to. I ask a lot of things. No, I would love that. There is such a huge wrestling fan base here, especially because it's there's lots of Lucha Libre fans here. You know, what about San Diego? San Diego would be super fun. I think Impact would do great there. So who knows what will happen now that we're traveling around, and we film TV every month, and it's great because we're meeting our fans all over the country and internationally, obviously, because we go to Canada and Mexico City. That's always super fun for me too. But yeah, hopefully we're out on the West Coast more.
So you have to adapt to a lot of different opponents, especially being champion. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to run into people multiple times, and now you've got Tennille Dashwood coming up at Bound for Glory.
Yep.
So what kind of prep work do you have to do to deal with someone like her?
Well, fun fact is that my first professional wrestling match ever was against her.
Oh.
8 years ago.
So it's like coming home again.
It's a full circle, literally a full circle story. But the thing is that we definitely we both went like this, and chose two totally different paths. And she's had, her ups and downs, and been in front of faced some of the best female wrestlers in the world, and on the biggest stages and in front of the biggest crowds. But guess what? I also have done that in my own way, and I'm preparing myself mentally, physically, trying to be as creative as possible and presenting the best Taya that I can for that October 20th in Chicago Bound for Glory show. And I think she's going to get a first-class ticket to Slamtown on that day. And also just really experience what La Huela Loca is, because she doesn't know.
How hard it is to write about.
A lot of pulling hair.
A lot of screaming.
Going fully Stella style on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I was hoping you'd ask her to define it. I thought she'd take that microphone and hit you with it.
This works great for me.
Yeah, no, people always ask, how did you go? I'm like, Pero used to tell me, say, pinche huera loca all the time, because I couldn't speak Spanish, and I would get mad at him because I couldn't understand, and I'd yell at him in English, and he'd just pinche huera loca. I'm like, and then here we are, 8 years later, and I still have the nickname without the profanity beforehand. But yeah.
Well, I heard you yell about some Tim Hortons earlier. What are other things you miss from Canada?
Hawkins Cheesies. Yeah, every time leave Canada, I get a bag of Hawkins Cheesies and some ketchup chips at the airport. Yeah, Tim Hortons, obviously. We always try to bring some home. But now Tim Hortons has like been infiltrating into the U.S. Actually, there's Tim Hortons in Mexico now.
I've heard about that.
I was in Monterrey at a house show, and we drove, and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, there was a billboard and a Tim Hortons. I was like, what is happening? And like Conan even like one day was like, look at this shit. Like, it was just a picture of a Tim Hortons in God knows where. I was like, what is happening? But yeah, all that kind of stuff. I miss my friends a lot, you know. Luckily, now that I live in Los Angeles, it's a lot easier for my family and my friends to come down and visit me and share in my life and see what I've been doing compared to Mexico City, which was a little bit farther.
Well, how do your friends and family like cope with your success? It seems like everybody has a story where either someone didn't believe it or someone completely believed it.
I think my parents just thought I was crazy, and they were like, "Oh, this is another like weird phase that she's going through," or I don't know, mid-20s crisis. But they never second guessed me. They were always just like, you know, they didn't really understand wrestling. But once I started explaining it as it's like Cirque du Soleil and ballet and theater, and I just had to explain it in a way that they could understand. And I was like, I swear all those millions of dollars you spent on dance and theater lessons was worth it, Mom. Like, and then she kind of got it, and now she loves it. She she was at the New York Madison Square Garden show in front row.
Oh.
Her and Tessa's mom sat next to each other. Mm-hmm. Two blondies, if you watch it back, and they're like, I'm like, look at those two, trying to make it about them. No, like my parents love it, and like my dad's come to see me wrestle in Mexico City, and you know, and they came to Lucha Underground, and they haven't come to Impact yet though, which hopefully we can make that happen. I'm always trying to get Impact to go film also in Western Canada, because that's where I'm from. So hopefully they'll get to come and see some live Impact TV at some point. But my friends, like all my girlfriends back home, none of them are wrestlers. But they remember me being like, I'm going to be a wrestler one day. And like, you know, all this kind of stuff. And when that all started. So again, they're not really surprised. I'm sure there's lots of them. And I mean, I hear it now. Like, we really thought that you'd never make it. Or like, you went to Mexico. We're like, she'll be back in a week. And then you never came home. So, I mean, there's obviously, like, you know, but they all love me for it and, like, support me now. And, like, their kids watch me on TV, because Impact is actually on 2 different channels in Canada. It's like my friend's daughter, Stevie, is, like, the tough one, and Sophia's, like, the delicate one. Mm-hmm. Sophia cries when I'm on TV. Stevie screams at the TV and goes, ah! And, like, yeah. I was just over there visiting, and, like, Auntie Kira, and it was like pile on me and elbows dropping, and she had a belt in her room that she brought out to me to show me. You know, it's great. Like, so I'm glad that they get to like see what I'm doing, and you know, now it's influencing their kids. Mandy's like, yeah.
That's fantastic. Now you can show them all up. Just convince AXS to like film an episode in the Salis Pavilion in San Diego Convention Center out there at the night. Bring them all out and then yell at them, I told you!
Yeah, I did it! Yeah, we need to go to Calgary and they'll all be there front row. I'll have like her daughters dressed like mini-me's, and I'll just like walk out with them.
What's the plan for after Bound for Glory? Because win or lose, you got to have a next step.
World domination.
Okay. Starting subtle. I like it.
Taking over the world. No, just continuing to be, you know, and corny as it sounds, the best knockouts champion I can be. And just like continue as evolving as a performer. I always strive to evolve and change and add layers to my Taya Sunday, you know, and just really continue to be this performer that pushes the boundaries and limits and represents women in a positive, strong, fun, beautiful way, and as much as I can, and elevate this business and represent this company. And 2019 has been extremely good to me. It's going to be hard to top it, but I know that I will, and I can, and we will, and I'm really excited to see what happens with this new AXS TV, moving forward, and into the new year. So
I missed my one chance to see you live.
where?
I bought a ticket to that weird Maverick show they were putting together, and it collapsed like about 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
The one in May.
So why don't you come to bar wrestling?
You know, I work out in Agora, so to cross Los Angeles at 5 p.m.,
It's true.
you know, I have to have half a day off to make the show.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I wrestle in LA quite a bit, so I'm sure at some point you'll get to experience it live.
I'll keep
Was that
trying.
your PWG show? You got the eye injury.
No, I was PCW
Yeah, I was at that show.
when I got knocked out and then just picked up Dog and threw him. Yeah. He always.
Happened, and then I saw you post on social media. I was like, oh man, some shit actually went down.
Yeah, so when I looked back, I was like, how did that even happen? So I'm like, my back is very flexible from dancing and doing gymnastics my whole life. And so I've always moonsaulted very up as opposed to out. If you watch Lita, she goes out, whereas mine goes up and down. And when I did that, you watch me and I'm sitting on my feet are on the top rope and I'm holding onto the turnbuckle and I never stood up. I was looking behind me. It was just like a total fluke kind of thing. I moonsaulted a million times and I just didn't stand up high enough. And since I'm so flexible, I literally came down on myself. And so my face hit the bottom rope, like across like that.
Because it looked like you had gotten hit or something at a different point than that. So I didn't realize that's where the injury was.
Yeah, it was from the moonsault. And I got knocked out, and I didn't know what was going on, like for a second, and I knew that was something else was coming up that I had to do, that something with Daga, and I just went and I just grabbed him, and I went and I just like slapped, and he's like, "Wera, wera, wera, wera," like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, all in Spanish, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Ah! And he's like remembering it, and like he's my little brother, like he was one of our groomsmen in our wedding, and he's like, remember that time? I'm like, yes, okay, sorry. And then a few seconds later, I was like, John's like, finally, John checked on me. But it was, yeah, that was a total fluke and a weird thing. But I love those PCW shows, are very fun. They're always sold out too. They're they're doing a really great job. I mean, there's so much wrestling in Southern California right now. I mean, everywhere. So, no excuses.
All right.
Yeah.
Just kick the can and where I am. And it's just,
Do you go to the Baldwin Park? Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to threaten me much. I married a 6-foot Scottish redhead. No fury.
Perfect. But yeah, no, bar is great. I think Joey's done a great thing and created kind of his own little thing over the last few years. And I've been there since the beginning. So unfortunately, I've just been so busy as champion that I can't go to all of them as much as I used to. But yeah, I think I'm only doing one more bar until the end of the year because of just like scheduling and stuff. But it's great because I mean, Impact's been so busy, and we've all like our Twitch shows and our Impact Plus, and now we film TV every month. So we're just trying to stay busy over here. Anyways, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Could I get